Do you reuse passwords or tweak them slightly by just changing a couple of letters? You need to stop doing that immediately and do this instead. In this video, we're talking about password managers, why you need to use one, criteria to look for in a good one, and really important tips for password management. Are you a beginner in this world? Well, there's a bunch of stuff in the middle of the video for more technical users. So if you're just starting out, I'll let you know when to skip ahead so you don't get too overwhelmed. Let's start with why password managers are so important. It's because of this.
The mother of all data breaches.
3.2 billion email and password combos have been posted to the dark web.
Passwords get leaked all the time. A hacker will successfully break into some company database, and suddenly your username and password or a scrambled version of your password called a hash are available on the dark web.
One of the largest breaches ever. More than 21 million passwords were discovered on a hacking forum.
If you're lucky, you'll hear about the breach and can go and change your password on whatever site was hacked. But more often than not, you won't even know that that password has been compromised. In case you're curious whether any of your passwords have ever been leaked in a data breach, they probably have. And there are sites where you can check.
I plugged in my personal email address and bingo! The password to that email account was compromised.
Our passwords are valuable, so we should take extra care to protect them. But the reality is that most people default to really bad password habits for their hundreds of accounts.
It is very difficult to keep track of them all, so you will probably use very simple passwords or maybe reuse the same password multiple times.
Yannick Bevendorf is the lead developer for the open source password manager KeePass XC, and he told me that after a breach, one of the first things hackers do is try the leaked password on as many websites as they can, using automated programs. If you're a chronic password user,
people can just, with one password, get into all your accounts.
So rule number one of the internet, never reuse passwords. But how are we meant to remember hundreds of different passwords? I was always told not to write them down.
It is not inherently insecure to write down your passwords. It is insecure to write down your passwords and keep it in a place where other people have access to. If you keep your password on a post-it note and stick it in front of your monitor in your cubicle, then that's not secure.
But according to most security experts, using a password manager is one of the most secure ways that you can protect your passwords. A password manager is a tool that creates and stores passwords for you in an encrypted database.
You have one very secure password for that database. Everything is encrypted with that one password that you set.
This makes it difficult for someone to access your passwords, even if they physically have your device.
So even if you lose your password database, then that's not that big of a deal.
While you are technically putting all your eggs in one basket,
it's a pretty secure basket, and it's way more secure than just using bad passwords everywhere.
One important feature of a password manager is the ability to randomly generate new passwords. Humans tend to pick passwords that are easy to remember by either making them short and simple or choosing words, dates, or numbers that are significant. Both these tendencies make passwords easier to guess or brute force.
Even if it looks random to you, it usually isn't if you generate it yourself.
So the combination is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's the kind of thing an idiot would have on his luggage.
Scott Aronson, famed theoretical computer scientist, once did an experiment where people were asked to type either F or D, and he wrote a program that could predict with 70% accuracy which key they were going to push next. It turns out that people don't really know how to type randomly, so using the random password generator in your password manager is very important. You can usually choose your own parameters.
The most important parameter there is obviously length. The longer the password is, the more secure it is.
And of course, you can make your new passwords as long as you like, because you don't have to remember them. Now let's dive into some criteria for choosing a good password manager. First is how it's secured.
Good password managers encrypt on your device.
This means that whoever's storing your password vault never gets access to your passwords.
Even if their servers get compromised, they will not leak your passwords. I would definitely require that. Any password manager that does not do that, don't use it.
You should also choose a password manager that allows you to add an extra layer of security by requiring two-factor authentication in order to access it.
Something like this, which is a physical security device that you can plug into your computer.
Setting up your account with a security key like a YubiKey means that someone can only access your passwords if they have physical access to the key. It's one of the strongest ways to protect your account.
A well-written password manager is going to keep things encrypted at rest and it's going to make sure that pages can't like just arbitrarily query your password database for you.
Pete Snyder is a senior privacy researcher at Brave Software, and he explained that if you're worried that websites will just be able to access the passwords in your manager, reputable ones are designed to secure them so that this doesn't happen.
A password manager will keep that data somewhere that pages can't get to it.
You'll also want to look at how well vetted the service is, and whether it's open source or has had any third-party audits, so that you can verify what the app is doing. Then you'll have to make a choice about what kind of password manager you want to use.
There are users with higher security demands and users with lower security demands.
You can choose to use a service or to manage your own vault, and you can choose to have your passwords online or offline. There are pros and cons to each, and some password managers can be used in multiple ways. Let's go through the different trade-offs of each option, starting with the most popular kind of password manager, which is an online service. This includes things like Dashlane, 1Password, LastPass, and Bitwarden, to name a few. These services usually have an online account, or sometimes a desktop app that's synced with the cloud, and when you log in, it allows you to access your passwords wherever you are. This is super helpful if you have multiple devices. These online services will usually have a browser extension that you can install, which detects which websites you're on and gives you quick and easy access to your login information for each site, autofilling them if you choose.
A big advantage of a password manager is also that it is convenient. And if it is inconvenient to use, because it's very hard to use, then you won't use it.
A reminder that on the other side of the convenience spectrum is privacy and security. So there are trade-offs for choosing the convenience of a third-party online service. But I want to reiterate that for the average person, using one of these password manager services is a great idea, especially if the alternative is no password manager at all. But regardless of your threat model, it's still helpful to understand the trade-offs. We're going to get a bit technical, so if you're a beginner and wanted to skip ahead to best practices, feel free to do so now. The first trade-off to be aware of when using an online password manager service is that relying on a service puts you less in control.
With a service, everything is just stored on the server and you access it only through their web interface or their app. If the service goes out of business, then good luck.
But these days, most platforms also store a local copy of the vault on your computer for you, as well as keeping your passwords accessible in the cloud, so that you can access your passwords even when you're offline. Then, once your computer is online again, it will sync any changes up to the cloud version. But unless you have a copy of this backup with you when you need it, accessing your passwords during an outage, for example, could be an issue. Next, for online password services, there is added risk in relying on someone else to store your passwords in case they get access to them. For the average person, this risk is negligible because passwords are encrypted on a user's device before being sent to the cloud, so the platform can't access those passwords. But you do need to be able to trust that a platform is actually encrypting these passwords correctly. And this is why making sure to use a reputable manager that has had third-party audits or is open source is so important. For someone with a higher risk model, there is also some risk in placing trust in a server to send you the right code. For example, when accessing your vault through your browser, or when using an extension because it might be automatically updated with something malicious without you knowing. This scenario is just hypothetical, but it's important to know that it could happen. And for some people, taking that risk by using an online password service might be too much. So let's dive into the next kind of password manager you could choose, one where you manage your own database. This is more technically challenging, and you're responsible for maintaining your own secure backups. So only dive into this option if you know what you're doing. It's possible to manage your own database and also use it online. One simple way to do this is to use an offline password vault like KeePassXC and just store a copy of it encrypted in a cloud storage platform of your choice.
For most users, it's totally fine to just put your password database in the cloud and sync it there. Nobody can decrypt it without the password.
This way, you'll be able to access your accounts from multiple devices.
You keep ownership of your data. Even if this file is in the cloud, you always have a local copy of it and you can do whatever you want with it.
Keep in mind that the cloud provider will see some metadata about when the vault is accessed, where you're accessing it from, etc., which means that there could be a trade-off with privacy, but you should only be concerned with this if you have a much higher threat model. A different concern is that offline password manager vaults like KeePassXC .xc are not really designed to handle being open in several places at once, so this can lead to conflicts in syncing. So another way to manage your own password vault whilst using it online across devices is to host your own password manager server. Bitwarden, for example, allows you to self-host your own Bitwarden server, so you can use your own infrastructure completely whilst keeping your password vault synced across devices. Once you have your server set up, you'll configure your Bitwarden browser extension or app to point to this self-hosted server. This process was designed to sync across multiple devices, and it can be really helpful because it still keeps you in control of your password vault. Finally, let's talk about self-managed password vaults that are completely offline. The go-to for this is probably KeePassXC, which we mentioned earlier. This is an offline app, and to use it, you just copy and paste each password manually into websites. There's also an offline browser extension that you can use which will make accessing the passwords easier for you. The extension talks directly to your locally stored KeePassXC password vault, which itself acts as a server. It's all offline, and the only time the extension talks to a server on the internet is for update checks or if you download favicons. If you store your password vault offline, then you know that third-party servers aren't sending you malicious code or recording your activities.
It's always more secure to have something on a laptop that is not connected to anything at all.
Updating your backup vaults every time you make a change to your password database can be a pain, but any inconvenience will be worth it to people who have a higher threat model. The type of password manager that you ultimately choose will depend on the risk and convenience levels that you're comfortable with. Once you've chosen your password manager, here are 4 important best practices to be aware of. The one password you will need to remember once you start using a password manager is the master password to the database itself. Attackers these days use computer programs that can guess millions of passwords every second, so to make sure your password doesn't get brute forced, it needs to be really long. How do you create a master password that's strong enough but also easy enough to remember? You might want to use a passphrase, where you randomly string together 6 or more words. EFF recommends using a die and a word list, like the one provided on their website. Each number you roll corresponds with a word. The longer and more random the password, the harder it is for both computers and humans to guess. For example, 5 random words, or 64 bits, is believed to help protect against a criminal attacker, while 6 random words, 77 bits, is believed to help protect against basically everyone except the NSA. Once you have this master password, keep it a secret.
Keep it secret. Keep it safe.
Password managers are also helpful for randomly generating answers to security questions. Security questions are the antithesis of account security, and yet many websites, especially banking websites, still insist on them. You're forced to add an answer to questions like, what school did you go to? These days, most information about you will be easily findable on the internet, so you should always randomly generate your answers to these questions rather than answering them correctly, and save your gibberish answers in your password manager. Now let's talk about Autofill. This is something that you can choose to turn on when using a password manager's browser extension. But should you? Some people say that it's helpful to prevent phishing attacks on fake websites, because you can set your password manager to only autofill if the site you're on exactly matches the site that you saved in your database. For example, instead of paypal.com, perhaps you're sent to paypal.com.payments. Humans won't always catch these mistakes. They might not be aware it's a scam, or they might have missed it because they're tired.
The password manager is never tired, so it always checks the URL meticulously. If the URL doesn't match, if there is some slight differences, then your password manager will notice that and will not offer you to enter your password.
This can prevent many phishing attacks, but researchers have found that it's sometimes possible to trick the password manager using autofill. There are 2 types of autofill. One is manual, where you need to select a field and choose from a list of suggested password options. The second is automatic, and doesn't wait for the user to click on anything. It just goes ahead and fills all the fields. This is problematic. In such a case, hackers might be able to intercept a site request, redirect you to another website or invisible form, and then use automatic autofill to steal your credentials all in a matter of seconds. For this reason, we recommend disabling the automatic autofill and require that a field actually be clicked on before it can be filled. The final best practice to be aware of when using a password manager is make sure you have backups of your vaults, whether you use a service or self-manage. Most password managers have have easy ways to make a backup file, and it's essential to do this so that you don't get locked out of your accounts. Using a password manager is one of the most important things you can do online, and there are many features to consider when choosing a good one. In our next video, we'll compare some of the most popular password managers to help you find something that best suits your needs. Using a password manager will dramatically increase your online security. So if this isn't something that you've set up, we highly recommend that you make this the next step in reclaiming more control over your digital life.